Okay, so we are going to be looking at completing the square this week, folks. This is kind of like a little padding almost. We'll start the new topic next week, just as a wee introduction tip before the summer, but we would normally only do kind of maybe two and a little bit of the topics at higher before the summer holidays. So I know we've had a little bit longer, but obviously working from home is a little bit slower for us because you're not getting as much input from us. And so we've kind of tried to take it easy and work at a steady pace. But we're going to look at completing the square. We're going to do a little bit of revision of National 5 first and foremost, so that's what this first video is going to be. And then there's going to be another 2 videos, mainly because we're looking at kind of 3 different types of question, so I thought it was easiest if we had 3 different videos to kind of meet that. And you've got 2 worksheets you're going to do. The second page of one of the worksheets is a wee bit different from all the video stuff. I want you to have a go at it, but don't worry too much about it because we will come back to it later on in the year, but it'll be interesting for you. Obviously, I didn't teach any of you for National 5. We're going to be looking at completing the square, and I maybe teach it differently from the way you've seen it at National 5. And I'm pretty convinced I'm going to be teaching it differently from the way the other higher class are going to be seeing it. But this is the way that over the years that I found it A, easiest to teach, and B, that I've generally found that my pupils have grasped it quite well. So I'm going to stick with this method at the moment, but if you don't really understand this or the algebra is too complicated, then please let me know and I'll show you the other method that we can use for this, and see if that makes a difference. So I don't have a problem with that. So at National 5, what you would be asked, okay, is you'd be asked something along the lines of, write x squared plus 6x minus 1 in the form x plus a all squared plus b, or x plus p all squared plus q sometimes, okay. And this one is nice and easy because it's a single x squared, it's a 1x squared, okay? And when it's a 1x squared, we can use a very specific method that will always work. And I call it half it, square it, and take it away. Okay, so that's the method that I use. And the first worksheet that you're going to look at, it kind of breaks that down and talks you through it. So the easiest thing to do is you need to realise that the 6 is the important number. So half of 6 is going to give you 3. So what this will lead us to is we're going to have x plus 3 all squared, so we've halved it. We did have a minus 1, so we keep that minus 1, but we're going to square this 3 and take it away, so we're taking away 3 squared. So we've got x plus 3 all squared minus 1 minus 9, which would be x plus 3 all squared take away 10. And you might remember from National 5, that's a parabola. It would have the turning point minus 3 minus 10, and so on and so forth. And we'll look at all that later on in the year. But all we're really looking at this week is making sure that we remember how to do this process. You might have been taught it differently, in which case keep doing it the way that you're used to. Okay, but if you like this method or this is the way you were taught it last year, then maybe go with this. So this is the half it, square it, take it away method. So for that first example, we have the 6 to get 3, and then we were taking away 3 squared, i.e. we were taking away 9, and that's where that minus 10 came from. If you don't believe me, take this, multiply it back out, and you should get back to the start. So x plus 3 all squared is x plus 3 times x plus 3, and then we've got minus 10 on the end. That's going to be x squared plus 3x plus 3x, so that's plus 6x, plus 9, take away 10. So there indeed is our x squared plus 6x minus 1 that we started with. And you've always got that option, folks. You can always multiply out whatever answer you get to check that you've got back to where you started, if you like. Okay. Now, that method's all well and good, and it works quite nicely. But what happens with this next example? And some of you might have seen this at National 5, because we often go this far. There's a bit of a kind of unsure idea as to whether or not this would ever come up at National 5. So we're going to do the same. We're going to ask you to write x squared plus x plus 7 in the form x plus, let's use p and q this time, x plus p all squared plus q. Okay, so x squared plus x plus 7 in the form x plus p all squared plus q. So what number are we halving this time? we're halving the number in front of the x always. The number in front of the x here is 1, okay, positive 1. So half of 1 is a half. Okay, half of 1 is a half. So it's a wee bit more complicated here because now we've got fractions. So we've got x plus a half all squared, and we did have plus 7, so we put that down, but we're squaring this number that we've got, so the half here, so we're squaring a half and taking it away. Now, a half squared is a half times a half, which is a quarter. Okay, you're squaring the top number, squaring the bottom numbers, another way of looking at it. So we've got x plus a half all squared, and then we've got plus 7 minus a quarter. 7 take away a quarter is obviously 6 3/4, and you can leave it as 6 3/4, or if you could prefer, you could write it as a top-heavy fraction, which would be 27/4. Okay, totally up to you. 27/4 is probably neater. That tends to be how you'll see me write it. Let's just do one more like that. Okay, maybe a second, we'll see how we get on. Okay, so we'll do another one with an even number first of all in the middle, so one like question 1, and then we will do another fraction just so you kind of get to see another couple of examples, because it's maybe a little while since you've done this. Okay, that's one of the disadvantages of not having the exams, is that you've not had all the kind of revision that we normally would have had before we go into higher. Okay, so this time we're going to write x squared minus 8x plus 2 in the form x minus p all squared plus q. Now notice that we've got this minus here and the minus here. Okay, so the minus in front of the 8 and the minus in front of the brackets. Now don't overthink that. Okay, all that means is when we get to this stage, half of 8 is 4. So we've got x minus 4 because it's a minus. Okay, and then we had plus 2, and we're taking away, technically it's negative 4 squared, but we know that negative 4 squared and 4 squared are the same thing, so you might even prefer just to go straight to this line, x minus 4 all squared plus 2 take away 16, and that's going to give me the answer x minus 4 all squared take away 14. Okay, and as I said, the first worksheet that I've asked you to do this week kind of really talks you through that quite well. Now let's just do one final one that's going to look like a fraction. Okay, so one final kind of fraction question. I'm going to just have to rub this out for some space, folks, so just bear with me a second. Okay, so final one where we're going to get a fraction. Let's have the same idea. So this is example 4. We've got x squared minus 3x plus 5, and we're going to write that in the form x minus p all squared plus q. Okay, so half of 3 is just 3/2. Okay, half of 3, we'll just keep it as a fraction. It's not great to use decimals here because this will often come up in paper 1, and you don't want to be trying to work out how to square negative 1.5. Okay, so fractions are generally going to be easier. So we've got x minus 3/2 all squared, and then we had the plus 5, but we're taking away 3/2 all squared is going to be 9/4. Okay, so we're taking away 9/4. Now, if it helps, 5 is 20/4. Okay, so turn it into a top-heavy fraction. It would be 5/1, which is 20/4, and 20/4 take away 9/4 is going to give you 11/4. So I've got x minus 3/2 all squared plus 11/4. So that's the first set of questions. That would let you do question 1 on sheet 2, and it'll let you do the majority of sheet 1. Okay, and I'm going to do a video for question 2 on sheet 2 and for question 3 on sheet 2. Your other piece of work this week is doing some recurrence relation past paper questions. So you've got that rather than a kind of formal mixed homework. You'll get your final mixed homework next week before the summer.